What is up, Sue? Hi, Kathy. Hi, Trish. Judy H. Jeff Elson. What's up, bud? Nancy C. Joe W. Hey. Michael, good to see you, buddy. Love the orange. It's bringing light to my life right now. Jonathan Yard, you know I love seeing you in the kitchen. Good to see you, bud. Hi, PR Banks. Good to see ya. Nancy Nicholson, Ivy, Deborah, Judy Sugg. So good to see so many familiar faces, so many new faces. Welcome to Homemade. Welcome to Chicken Cacciatore. Woo! God, I love this dish. I love this dish so much. If this is your first time here, we're so thrilled. A couple of just housekeeping rules that we always go over. First and foremost, we love to see your beautiful face. I want to interact with you. I want to see you. And it's the only way that you can ask a question is if you allow your camera to be on. That way you can raise a hand and literally verbally ask me a question. So if you're comfortable, even if you're not cooking along, share your camera. It just makes the world to me over here on this side of things. If you're not comfortable, that's totally cool. I get it. Our kitchens are our kitchens. But we have Heather, who is a chef. She's in the chat, and you can hit her up in real time and ask questions about the recipe, about anything you want, and she'll get back to you ASAP. Throughout the class, I'm going to be asking for questions. I'm going to be asking you guys questions. So please, just the more interaction, the better. Couple of other things today. There's a decent amount of ingredients. So, at this point, as I'm kind of introducing things, if you are cooking kind of along, grab the recipe, get all the ingredients out, and just kind of spread them out because there's a decent amount of steps in this bad boy. It's a total rustic peasant dish in all the best ways, but there is a lot going on. So, I'm going to try and kind of pace it out, but at the same time, do not hesitate. If you need me to slow down or if you need me to repeat something, that is what it's all about here at Homemade. We're thrilled to have you here. Chicken cacciatore, we're going to make a beautiful Parmesan Polenta, which is optional. You could serve this with pasta, beautiful green salad. There's so many different ways you can go about it. But the first time I had this dish was in Rome. I was meeting my buddy who was backpacking in Italy, and he said, I'm getting chicken cacciatore and cacio e pepe, which is a black pepper pasta, somewhere in the Jewish quarter of Rome. So I met him at this just dumpy restaurant. I mean, it was so dumpy. And they came out with a cauldron. I mean, I'm saying this thing was so hot. You know when you get like a fajita skillet at like a Mexican restaurant, you're like, okay, I'm not going to touch it. It was like that times 10. It was like nuclear. And I remember scolding my mouth, but as we let it cool, we started to mop it up with the bread, and it was just this rustic hunter stew is what cacciatore is all about. And there's some steps to it, but once you master it, cacciatore is all your jam. It is so good, especially in the winter when it just kind of hugs your tummy. I love it. The key to it is obviously the chicken. So you want to invest in an amazing chicken. Here in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, we have Ranger chicken. This is a free-range chicken. It's Northwest grown. It's got non-GMOs. I know you're not going to be able to find this everywhere. If you are in the Pacific Northwest, we're going to put the link in the chat on where you can find this chicken. But the goal is to always find a beautiful bird for this dish. Otherwise, it's just not going to taste the maximum amount of beautifulness it will. So, first step. This part is so easy. We need some chicken stock. I don't even care how much, at least a cup. And I want to put it in a pan. So I want everyone to do this. I've got about a cup of chicken stock. Put it in a pan and bring it to a boil. Cool? Second thing we're going to do is add what's called dried porcinis. What the heck is a porcini? Who can tell me? Raise your hand, throw it in the chat. Porcini. Mushroom, Sherry Rosenberg, thank you. Mushroom Mia, thank you. Katie, I knew you knew it. Porcini is like second to truffle as the most expensive mushroom in the world. So expensive. And the reason why this is called a hunter stew is because not only are you out hunting chickens and things like that, but you're usually out in the field in Italy gathering mushrooms and things like that. So we wanted to extra boost the mushroom flavor by adding these dried porcinis. Now, when you buy dried mushrooms. They look like chips. And you can find them at almost every grocery store nowadays, but these are much more cost-effective, right, than buying the fresh porcini. So these are why we go dry. They also have this really earthy flavor that I love. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to add about a handful of these dried porcinis into my broth and just bring it to the boil. And that's it. We're just hydrating our dried mushrooms. Now, if you cannot find these, you can use any dried mushroom. There's shiitakes, there's things like that. If you can't find dried mushrooms, I just want you to add another handful of mushrooms into this recipe. That's it. Cool. I know these are a little bit niche, a little bit hard to find, but they are so worth it. So worth it. Any questions on this part of the recipe? The beautiful porcinis in the broth. No? Giovanna, you have the right name for tonight, buddy. Giovanna brought the Italian. I love it. David Tuttle, good to see you, man. Hey, Sue. Nicole Johnson in the house. I'm so glad you're making this one, Nicole. You're going to love it. All right. So, again, we're just bringing this broth to the boil, and it's just like tea. All of our mushrooms are going to kind of soak in there, and they're just going to drink up the broth. Now, while that's going, I've got a gorgeous, gorgeous chicken. Typically, this is made with things like, I've seen it made with duck. I've seen it made with venison. I've seen it made with anything that you could typically hunt. But, I don't have duck or venison on a normal day basis. And so chicken has really become kind of the go-to cacciatore. But again, cacciatore means hunter stew. So any of that game would be really good in this. By the way, I just want you guys to see. We're just boiling, and now I'm going to take it off the heat. Super simple. Nothing crazy. All right. While those are steeping, I want you to find the biggest, baddest pan you have. This could be a Dutch oven. This could be just a big, giant saute pan. Whatever it is, I want you to start getting it hot. So about an 8 out of 10. So go ahead and turn your stove on. Get a big, big pan, about an 8 out of 10. Cast iron is fantastic for this. I'm using Scam Pan because I love this chef's pan. It's just big. So totally up to you. And what I start doing is add a bunch of olive oil. About a quarter cup. We won't eat it all, don't worry. All right, now, see me rolling up my sleeves. We're going to break down this chicken. I think it's really important here at Homemade. We really want to encourage you guys to start buying whole chickens. Especially here, again, if you're after Ranger chicken like we love, whole chickens just give you so much more love. You get the skin, right, as opposed to, just getting the breast. And the skin really lends itself to a juicy, juicy chicken. You get, obviously, all the different bits and bobs, which you can use on so many different meals. One chicken can really become 3-4 meals. So I want to show you guys how to break down the chicken. And we're going to use a number of these different chicken parts in our cacciatore. So here's my whole chicken. Cool. And when you look at a chicken, if we go from the top view here, the chicken is literally just on its back, breast side up, and I'm just tucking its wings behind it. At this point, the chicken's at the beach. He's just chilling, right? That's literally what he's doing. He's just on his back, chilling. And I think it's really important to kind of understand what you're looking at when you're looking at a whole chicken. This is the top. These are the thighs, obviously, and the wings are right here. The key to breaking down a chicken is just finding the joints. So when I see a wing like this and I kind of flex it back and forth, I'm looking for this joint, right? And if you cut where the joint is, you barely have to cut. It will literally just go right through. I'll do that again right here. So I'm literally going to find the joint and cut through. It's like butter when you find that joint. Cool? So I've got 2 little wing tips here I'm going to put on this plate. The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut the thighs off this bird. And I love using this boning knife. This is a global boning knife. It's bendy, it's flexible, it's skinny. So it gets in between the joints really well. But I'm going to put my thumb right here, right under the thigh. And I'm just going to cut away, just using the tip of the knife. And once I can kind of put my thumb inside, I just open it up. And you'll actually hear a pop. And you'll be able to take the thigh off the actual bird itself. Just like that. I'll do it on the other side so you can see. So I'm going to put my thumb right in the middle. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to find that little hip socket, make a little incision, and then just kind of open it up. It's really, really, really easy. Once you get used to it, once you do like 3, even once you do 1, you're like, oh, I get it. I understand. And honestly, when you talk to butchers, and I get this, it becomes really relaxing to break down your own chicken, to trim up a nice piece of meat, all that good stuff. So here is our thigh, and just like the leg, we're going to find the joint, right, where it bends. So I'm going to find this joint, and once I kind of find it with my knife, you'll be able to cut right through it. So here is our chicken leg and our chicken thigh. Again, you can buy all this stuff, but I think it's really, really important to buy whole chickens, especially nowadays with supply issues and all that stuff. Let's help out the chicken companies by really making the most of what we can get. We can do this part ourselves as opposed to trying to kind of go find them already done for us. You save money and all that good stuff too. All right, last but not least is the chicken breasts right here. So you just kind of follow this bone, and the very top, you just cut down, and then you just kind of start cutting it away from the actual carcass itself. And again, I'm just using the tip of the knife, and I'm just kind of almost scraping in one motion the chicken off the actual meat itself. And I'm leaving a little bit on there for stew we can do later. Again, this is why I like whole chicken. Nothing goes to waste. All right, I'm going to do this other one. Again, I'm going to follow the bone. I'm going to cut it down. And again, I know you're probably thinking, oh, I'll never do this. Listen, I totally get it. If all you do is go buy it, that's totally cool. But when you learn this technique, you'll never go back. Trust me. It's so great. Perfect for fried chicken, all that good stuff. Again, we've got the carcass here. We'll save that for stock. In the meanwhile, I'm going to get rid of my chicken board, wash my chicken hands, and I think this is a perfect time to take some questions if you guys have any. Heather, anything come up? Not yet, you guys. No chicken cacciatore questions? David Morgan in the house. Haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Good to see you. And by the way, I don't think I've said this to everybody, but Happy New Year. This is my first class in 2022. We have so many amazing classes coming up. And as you know, in 2022, about 6 days ago, we launched our subscription program, which is so exciting. It means that you can watch hundreds of classes on demand. There's so many other features. We have this huge recipe library that we just keep updating. So if you love homemade, if you love this live aspect, we have smaller classes that you can partake in. So the on-demand experience, it's literally $10 a month. You can try it out for free for 7 days. Go on our website. It is literally the very first button, and you can sign up. It is so worth it. All right. At this point, my olive oil is smoking hot, and I'm literally just going to take my chicken skin side down and add it right in. All right, we haven't added any salt or pepper yet. I like to do that in the pan, so the pan literally catches all that flavor. Beautiful. I think I'll save the wings for another day. I don't think we need the wings today. Now, the key here, you guys, just so everyone's really clear, and I know a lot of you guys who've taken classes with me before know that when I'm cooking meat, I'm not moving meat. I'm letting it really take time to get brown and concentrated. So what I want you guys to do right now is grab some salt. I'm just going to go from up high so the salt spreads, but season one side of this chicken. And I'm going to do the same thing with some cracked black pepper. Lots of black pepper in this, guys. I want a little bit of heat. You want to see the black pepper. Woo! That smells so good. I love this dish. I just love how rustic this dish is. It's just chicken pieces cut up and seared and stewed. And the reality is with a lot of these chickens and a lot of these meats that you cook, they're so lean that sometimes, or they're not even lean, sometimes they're too fatty. It just depends, but they have a lot of muscle. And so you want to break them down. This is why it's called a hunter stew, is you could take anything that you hunt, put it in a stew, and it would become nice and soft. We're essentially braising, which means cooking for a decent amount of time in just a little bit of liquid to keep things moist and to help break them down. All right. So while this chicken is searing, and we're just trying to get it brown, that's all we're looking for, I want to start cutting up some vegetables. Classic in a cacciatore are peppers. Sweet, punchy, delicious. I don't care. By the way, I know they have green, red, yellow, every color of the stop sign peppers. They all taste the same. It's just a color thing. My wife thinks I'm lying. I'm so not lying. You would not know the difference if you close your eyes and taste a green pepper versus a red. No way. All right. So with the pepper, there's a couple ways you can break it down. Here's one way, which is pretty basic. You cut all the sides off, and you're left with the middle. No seeds. Easy, great, proven. My favorite way is called the roll, which I know a lot of you guys have seen me do, which you cut the top off, and then the bottom, you sneak your knife in, and you roll the pepper out as you're moving your knife. And you're left with what I think is a beautiful sheet of pepper versus pieces of pepper. No seeds, no pith, no waste. Can I get a little bit of a round of applause for that trick? Thank you. Thank you. I needed that. Appreciate it. That's called the pepper roll. I think I'm going to buy that domain, the pepper roll. I got to copyright that. They like the roll. Most people like the roll. I like the roll too. All right, so at this point, I'm just going to cut these into strips. The recipe calls for you to julienne them. That's basically what this is. Just little strips. Again, this is a rustic stew. Don't worry if some are a little chunkier, some are a little thinner. Like this piece up here, just chop it up. Hack that puppy up. I'm tucking my fingers back, and I'm literally just shaving these guys. Almost like you're making fajitas or something. Now, I can smell that chicken. One thing I love about this chicken, there's no hormones, there's no steroids. I don't know if you guys go to the store, but when you see a normal chicken at the store, and I mean normal, like an everyday conventional chicken, they're huge nowadays, absolutely gigantic. They pump them full of water, so you guys have to pay more when you buy the chicken. It weighs more. And that is a trick that has been used for like 50, 60 years now as a way to kind of, trick us to obviously upping the spend. When you find a natural chicken like Ranger, they don't do that. They air chill it. There's no added water. So you're just getting this perfect flavor of the chicken. When you add water, obviously it dilutes the flavor. So really important to find a chicken that you trust because it makes a big difference on the palate. All right, we're going to turn these chickens upside down. Got a nice little brown on those guys. Oh, they look great. They smell awesome too. And I'm just going to season the other side. Again, a little bit more salt, a little bit more pep. Just a nice big pinch from up high. Lots of pepper, don't forget that. All right. How we doing, team? Everyone okay? We got peppers cut. I need a little something here. Yeah, thumbs up. I want to see. Good. Good. Nice, Joe. Awesome, Steph. You all right? Kayla, you're cool. If you guys, again, what separates Homemade from Food Network, YouTube, anywhere else you could watch cooking shows, I can see you. I can talk back to you. So if you have a question or if you want to just show something, please. But I love the fact that I can see all of you guys. We have lots of screens here. So this is what really makes us different, and we're really proud of that. All right, we talked about mushrooms already. Let's get to cutting some mushrooms. Now, these are basically baby portobello mushrooms. These are called cremini mushrooms. And honestly, I think they're a little bit richer, a little bit more earthy than like a button mushroom. But if all you can find is just a white button mushroom, that's cool. So I'm going to put my mushrooms on here, and I'm going to start chopping. And I know the very first question everyone always asks with mushrooms, how did you clean them? And Ben is standing right here. And Ben and I have had, I don't want to say heated discussions, but I want to say friendly argument discussions about how you clean a mushroom. And I heard him, it sounds like he's taken a more Switzerland stance, which I appreciate, where he's not trying to stir it up. He used to say, never ever put it underwater. Now he says, you can put it underwater if you want. The reality is you can absolutely wash your mushrooms by rinsing them under cold water. There's no way that water soaks into the mushroom fast enough to really make a difference. So if you want to wash them under the sink, go for it. It is a total myth that you can't. If you don't want to, see, now I'm being Ben, you can just grab a brush and like a little painter, you could just kind of like brush off the dirt and feel really good about it. It's totally up to you. But that's how you clean a mushroom. Honestly, if I see a little dirt, it's not going to hurt. Remember that. Little dirt never hurt. I used to work in a restaurant where we would work with foraged items a lot. We'd get beautiful mushrooms and other really beautiful edible stuff from the forest. And it would come just covered in leaves and dirt, and you'd find bugs in there. And yeah, we'd give it a quick wash. But for the most part, the dirtier something comes to you, usually the most high quality it is. Remember that. All right. So at this point, my chicken is brown. I really hope you guys are in the same spot. They're not cooked through. They're just brown on both sides. That's really important to distinguish. We are not trying to cook the chicken through. Just get it crispy. And I'm removing it to like a little plate, little dish here. Show you guys what this looks like here. That's it. Again, raw in the middle, hanging out. I am not turning off my pan because in that pan is pure gold, baby. What is this called? Everyone knows. Write it in the chat. What is this called? In cooking, there's a name for this. Fond. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Betty. I love it. You know, you can really start to tell who's been going to homemade classes when my questions start to become too easy. But that fond, that brown little bits on the bottom of the pan, they're everything in this dish. They are really what sets this dish apart. So as I add these mushrooms and my other ingredients, it's almost going to like lift the fond off and make for a beautiful, beautiful little nesting bed for all of our chicken. All right, so you can see I added mushrooms in. We are going to season the mushrooms, give them a little salt. And we're going to kind of add things in stages. So every single time I add something, I do want to season it. So I'm going to let these mushrooms go for about a minute before I add my peppers. And now I'm going to chop up an onion. Easiest way to cut an onion, bottom off, top off, put it on its head, cut it down the middle, take out that first layer, save this with your chicken carcass. You can make killer chicken stock with these onion peels. And then I literally just follow the grain of the onion, the lines, and I just start cutting nice and thin. When I get about halfway, I tip the onion over. Just makes it easier to hold. I'll show you that again. So I start chopping. You can see my fingers are back. When I get halfway, tip the onion over and chop it up. These are the little tips that you guys keep coming back to us, Nor. Just small things like how to chop an onion, all those things make such a difference in your cooking and your willingness and openness and excitement about jumping into the kitchen. We made a huge playlist on our subscription around chef's tips, our hacks, all of our little moments that we think are key in these classes. Again, a huge perk for that subscription. So I'm going to go ahead and add all my peppers to my mushrooms and all my onions. And at this point, it is just a giant mess of vegetables cooking in chicken fat, which to me sounds like heaven on earth. All right. Really no questions. Unbelievable, you guys. Everyone's good. Has everyone here had chicken cacciatore before? Yeah? No? A lot of no's. A lot of, okay, some yeah. You know, it's funny. You don't find this dish at like a normal, you know, American Italian restaurant. You're not going to find this at, and I know a lot of us, you know, do eat there or don't eat there, but you're not going to find this at Olive Garden or a basic Italian spot here in America. This is just such a traditional Roman kind of dish. Again, it takes time, it takes love, and I don't know. To me, it's worth it. You know, it's like the Italian chili in some ways. You could spoon this up while you watch the game, and people would love you forever. All right. Yeah. Yeah, quick question. Hear it. Oh, from Carol? Hi, Carol. Oh, PR. We'll do PR first, then Carol. Hi.
I don't mean like the olive oil. Like, could you use chicken breast or some other like venison, something lighter?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's a pretty healthy dish, right? I mean, if you think about it. So yeah. I would cut the dark meat out, just go chicken breast. You can also do fish too, PR. So like salmon, halibut, cod, that would all be beautiful in here. If you don't do meat or seafood, you could absolutely just go with like more mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, just beef them up. But it's really just vegetables stewed in tomato sauce. So yeah, just keep an eye on that olive oil and keep an eye on what your protein is. But if you keep those two things lean, you should be good to go.
Okay.
Thanks, PR. It's a great question. Yeah. Yeah, PR touched on something huge. At Homemade, we're really shifting to a place of being conscious about what we're putting in our bodies and really being mindful. I've actually already lost 10 pounds cooking a new way, which is huge for me as a chef. I've always struggled with weight. And so all of us here at Homemade have been really passionate about taking our favorite recipes, chicken cacciatore, pastas, desserts, and really turning them on their head, using artificial sweeteners, not as much meat, and really being cognizant of what we're putting in the pan. So with that said, Carol Woodford from Los Angeles, one of my good buddies. Hey, Carol.
Hey there, Joe.
How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So first of all, chicken cacciatore was something that I saw in Italian restaurants in New York growing up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, not in chain restaurants, but in real.
Yes.
The other thing is, I'm very surprised that there's no garlic in this.
It's so funny you said that because when I was talking to Heather, who developed this recipe, I said, "Where's the garlic?" And her research, there was no garlic in a lot of the recipes, and so you can absolutely add it. But I agree with Heather in the sense where we're adding mushrooms, and we really want the mushrooms to be the main flavor, especially we're going to add those porcinis back in 1 minute here. So really, we don't want the garlic to overpower these beautiful porcinis that we're adding in. Good question, though. Thanks, Carol. All right, so on demand, like Carol said, I'm going to grab these mushrooms. You can chop them up. You can totally leave them whole. I'm going to leave them whole because I think they look more rustic. And you can see they're plump now, right? They're not dried anymore. And I'm just going to add these mushrooms in with their broth. And now you're just starting to see a mushroom and pepper bed of love, right? So delicious. And we're going to add just a couple more spices to this. And then we're almost pretty much done with the cacciatore part. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oregano. Really necessary for this. I know I sometimes call out, if you don't have it, it doesn't make a big difference. This actually makes a big difference. So Tablespoon of oregano will go a long way. And then I've got about a teaspoon of chili flakes. That one is totally optional, but gives you a little bit more fire in there, a little bit more heat. Beautiful. I'm going to add a little more salt. Again, as we add ingredients, we're adding salt. We're flavoring as we go, seasoning as we go. Oh, it smells so divine. And then, this is classic, a splash of white wine, red wine, whatever you have. It's just going to kind of sweeten the meat and really, really give it a nice roundness. All right, so I'm just going to kind of scrape the bottom, get all the veggies together. And the reality is we're going to be done with this in about 20 minutes as we cook our polenta. But the longer you cook this, the better it is, hands down. So if you could cook this for 3 hours on nice low, do it. If you can cook it for 5 hours on nice and low, do it. If you could eat it the next day and then reheat it, do it. Braising is like a good bruise. It's always, always better the next day. Remember that. All right, I've got a can of tomatoes. You can use fresh tomatoes, but again, this is kind of a winter stew. So a can of tomatoes is all you need. This is about a 16-ounce can of tomatoes. Those are going right in. And this is really a tomato-based sauce, you guys. Cacciatore, make no qualms about it. It is about the tomato. Second to the chicken, the tomato is super crucial to making this thing come together. Again, we added an ingredient, so I'm going to add a little salt. And at this point, all you got to do, this is why I love this dish, is go back after that chicken and tuck it into bed. Just find an opening. Just give it a little nestle. I don't care where you put it. I don't care if they're touching each other. I just want you to put it into that tomato sauce, and it will start to cook through. You can see all the juices. Of course, I'm adding those in. I'm not crazy. And what you have, and I'm just going to leave this open so everyone can see for a second, is just this bubbling, beautiful, like I said, cauldron of braised, gorgeous free-range chicken. So I love this. This is why this dish is so magical to me. So I'm bringing this to the boil, lots of bubbles. And then once I see a lot of bubbles and maybe it starts to splatter a little bit, I'm going to turn it down. Up to you, but I like to put a lid on it. The recipe does not call for a lid. I like a lid. It helps steam it. It helps kind of concentrate it. So I'm going to throw a lid on, and I'm going to turn the heat down to about medium-low, about a 4 out of 10. I'm going to let that cook for about 20 minutes. Now, one thing to call out is if you don't want to put this on the stove, you can totally put this in the oven. 350 degrees, just take the entire thing, stick it in the oven, and it would be beautiful just like that. So totally up to you. You don't have to do it on the stove. You can roast it, whatever works. All right. Sherry, how are you, Sherry?
Hello, good to see you back.
Good to be back.
I have a quick question. It's always my typical question, but if you were to make this ahead of time and you wanted to freeze it, would you not cook it all the way through? And do the peppers actually last in the freezer? Because I know I've had issues when I take in stuff like that out of the freezer.
Such a good question. This freezes magically perfect. So cook it all the way, Sherry. Do your thing. Freeze it. It will be good for about 6 months, and then you can just reheat it. It's like chili.
What's the best way to reheat it?
Slowly in a Dutch oven. Just put it back in the pan and just kind of slowly bring it up, like medium heat, like a 5 out of 10.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And again,
Enjoy your day.
thank you, Sherry. Again, Ranger is about flavor. It's about quality. It's about how they treat their animal, right? This thing has never seen an antibiotic ever. You'd be surprised at how many chickens that you're just not aware of is treated with growth hormones and GMOs. This has none of that. So again, in the Pacific Northwest, if you can get Ranger, it's going to make such a difference. But wherever you're based, go to Ranger's website. So just so you can see the quality, the standard that they hold for themselves, and then go and find a local brand that works for you in your area. But again, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, there is no better than Ranger. All right, so these are simmering away. Smells so good. We're going to get cracking on the polenta. I know a lot of you guys have made polenta with me before. Here's my spiel on polenta. By the way, this would be good with some white rice, gorgeous noodles. Doesn't need to be polenta. You can do a salad. That was such a good question earlier about how to lighten up this dish. Cauliflower rice. But polenta is so good with this because you can kind of mop up all that cacciatore in the polenta. So for those of you guys who don't know what polenta is, it is cornmeal. And here's a trivia question for you. What can you grind that you probably have in your pantry that becomes cornmeal? People don't know this. What can you grind in your pantry or that you have in your house that becomes cornmeal? Grits. Yes, Sherry got it. Linda got it. Michael got it. Popcorn. Guys, popcorn is cornmeal. Do you know that? Isn't that crazy? If you put popcorn in a blender, turn it on, go check a text, in 30 seconds, you come back, this is what you'll have. So really interesting. Cornmeal is so normal to us, we just don't think about it. It's not just for cornbread. It's really nice just cooked on its own. So I've got 2.5 cups of chicken stock. Obviously, you can use vegetable stock. You can also use just water, or you can use milk if you want it to be really rich and creamy. But I want to get 2.5 cups of veggie stock boiling. All right, I'm going to turn that puppy on. Beautiful. Oh, look at that Ranger chicken just blip away. While that stock is coming up to the boil, you can go ahead and add your polenta, which again is just cornmeal. And the amount of polenta we're adding is 1/2 cup. So it's basically 1 to 2 with polenta. So 1 cup of polenta to 2 cups of liquid. Usually a little bit more than that, but you get the idea. All right, so we're literally just going to let that simmer away, and I'm just grabbing a whisk, and I'm just whisking that. It doesn't matter if it's boiling or not. It's going to come up to a boil, but you want to whisk it every once in a while just so it doesn't stick. Cool. While that's coming up to a boil, I've got about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, and I've got a tablespoon of butter. Both of these things are optional, but we tried to bring them back all the way, so it's not too much cheese, not too much butter. It's just the right amount for this amount of polenta, which will serve about 4 people. So we really are proud of this because it's really not that much cheese and butter, and we think it adds a lot of richness and it brings out the sweet qualities of the corn. So I'm just whisking this guy up, just watching it every once in a while. I've got my cheese, I've got my butter, and then I've just got some fresh herbs, because at this point we're pretty much there. All right, so for my herbs, I've got a nice, beautiful parsley, which will go on top of my chicken cacciatore. And then I've got some chives, which I'm going to mince up really nice and small. I'm just tucking my fingers back. Move this out of your way. Really small mince. And this is going to go into the polenta. Just give it a little color, little beautiful kind of hum of that garlicky kind of onion flavor that scallions give. It's beautiful. Awesome. So at this point, we're just kind of in the waiting game. PR, did you have a question?
Sorry, I clicked on the other thing. On the recipe, I tend to go right by the recipe.
Yeah.
So the 28-ounce can of crushed tomato.
Total. Yeah.
Are you going to be trouble with that?
No, you're right. I was wrong. It should be 28, not 16.
Okay.
Thank you for keeping me honest, PR.
No, I don't want to mess up with it. I'm a pretty good chef, so I had an idea that it wouldn't mess it up, but I've never made it before, so I just love to. Thank you.
It would not mess. Yeah, totally. No, I'm really glad you asked. Thank you for keeping me honest with that. All right, so this guy is just getting nice and hot, and I'm going to add a pinch of salt in my polenta. Now, I tell this story a lot, but when I lived in Italy, and that's where I studied in Florence. Anyone been to Florence? Raise your hand. I love Florence. I miss traveling. Gosh, I miss traveling so much. But when I was living there, I was 19 years old. I've never had pork before in my life, by the way. I grew up in a Jewish house, and That was the first time I ever had pork. But I also never had polenta. I didn't know what polenta was. And I'm sure even on today's call, maybe a lot of us are getting introduced to polenta. But I remember going into a restaurant with my dad, us having just the worst polenta. We ordered it, and it's not knowing what it was. Came in a bowl. We tried it. It was so flavorless. I vouched to never eat polenta again. It was just so gross. But then like a week later, we were in Venice, which is a little bit more known for their polenta. And we said, hey, let's give it another shot. And we ate the polenta, and it was just transcending. It was almost like mac and cheese. Incredibly, incredibly creamy, unbelievably flavorful, and just a game changer when it came to kind of just, what is possible as a side dish. I think that we all get so used to pasta and rice and all those things. It's nice to mix it up and bring some cornmeal to the table. Looks like we have a question from Joanne. Hi, Joanne. Oh.
No, I was just raising my hand that I've been to Florence.
Oh, did you eat like amazing, Joanne?
Amazing. Yeah,
Is it not the best? Yeah. Oh, don't you miss it? I miss it.
Me too.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right, if anyone wants to know where Joanne and I are, we're in Florence. That's where we're going to be in about a month. Trish, what's up, buddy?
I'm just confused on the amount of the cornmeal.
Sure.
Half a cup?
Half a cup.
Is recipe? But you said a cup or something.
No, yeah. So half a cup to 2.5 cups of liquid. So it's about 1 cup, like the ratio is about 1 to 2, a little bit over.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good questions, guys. And then Helena.
So good to see you.
So good to see you. Yeah, it feels good to be back. Oh, thank you. I missed you
What
guys.
do you think was different between the two? Joel, what do you think was different between the two restaurants? That one was fantastic with the polenta and the other wasn't. What do you think was the difference?
See, you're queuing me up, Helena, for my story. I really appreciate it because the big difference was salt. It was just seasoned right? And so I want to be really clear. We always say this at Homemade. Salt is not a flavor. It's not a flavor. People always say, oh, I'm adding salt, I'm adding flavor. That doesn't make sense. Salt enhances flavor. So when I salt Helena, she becomes more Helena-y, right? When I salt a tomato, it becomes more tomato-y. So salt just makes the sweetness and the brightness of that corn come out. And that first restaurant just didn't use enough, right? Period. It was just plain Jane. But when you season something right, it can really transform it into something that's delicious. And that was the big difference between the two restaurants. I'm so glad you asked. All right, and I'm just whisking away. And as I'm whisking, my mixture is getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And what I'm going to do at this point, and you know your polenta is done when it kind of looks like applesauce. That's kind of the vibe you're after. But I'm actually going to switch these two because we're getting kind of close here. So I'm going to move my polenta here, move my cacciatore over here, and I want to show you guys what my cacciatore is looking like because it is looking stunning. Just so you guys can see. I know this is not the best angle, but I mean, look at that. That is Ranger chicken at its finest. What you can do throughout the cooking, just take some of that gravy, right? That's what you call this beautiful tomato, and you just spoon it over the top. And again, you can leave the lid on. I'm going to leave the lid off for the rest of this, just so it reduces down a little bit. But man, oh man, does that not look just comforting and like it's going to hit every mark that you are craving. All right, so you guys can see this is a better angle. That's why I moved over here. You can see my polenta is really, really starting to become yellow and starting to boil. I'm on high heat here, guys, so we're kind of, it's like a hot tub in there. You can see the bubbles really, really going after it. And it's turning more and more yellow and thicker in texture. And by the time this gets thick enough, which is going to be in about 1 minute, I'm going to take it off and I'm going to add salt. And this is that really important step that Helena and I were just talking about. This is what separates beautiful polenta from okay polenta. All right. Sherry, did you have another question? Hi, Sherry. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you hanging.
I think that's awesome because I knew popcorn, but quick question before I try that experiment, because we actually did an experiment here with popcorn, and I have a ton of different popcorns in my house. It won't kill my blender, will it?
It will definitely not kill your blender, I promise. What was the experiment you did with popcorn? I'm just curious now.
Well, apparently I want organic popcorn and didn't buy in my house. And apparently the only popcorn in my house I like is marble red popcorn because everyone else is too small to hurt.
Save your, yeah. Oh, gosh. I get it. I get it.
Two yellows, one blue, and then a whole thing of marble red and popcorn. I have to use the two yellows and blues have to go away.
Hysterical. I love it. Yeah, try it out. It will not ruin your blender. I promise.
And now everything's from scratch. And by the way, I'm making your recipe for pasta to go with it.
Woo! Love it. Love it. Oh, another big hug. Lena Tucker. Hi, buddy. What you got?
The only polenta I can find was the chunky one. It's still in chunks.
Yeah. A lot of people see that, and what Lena's holding up, it looks like a log almost, like a set log. And what that is already cooked polenta. So they already cooked it. You can actually slice it into pucks and sear it on the stove. And when your polenta is done cooking, you can actually put it in the fridge. It will get hard like that, and you can make polenta cakes and all these other goodies. But what I would do, Lena, is add that to a pan with just a little bit of liquid. If you have chicken stock, like I'd add a half a cup or a half a cup of water and whisk it up until it breaks down again, and you'll have soft polenta. Yeah, it's such a good question. See, I love when you guys ask those questions. Lena, so nice to see you. All right. By the way, I'm so close to this polenta, but I have to know, does anyone have any cooking-related resolutions? I'm just curious. If they're not cooking-related, I don't want to hear them. I want cooking only on this homemade. Cooking-related has resolutions. Anything? Nope. Desiree says. Cooking with less sugar. That's great, Mary Lee. To get a range so I can make everything again. Yes, Sherry. Cook more at home. Eat less. Lena goes, eat less. I know. Well, I think the biggest thing we can say is, and this is why we started homemade, when you cook more at home and you cook more from scratch, you're going to eat healthier. You're going to save money. You're not going to go out as much. And it's really good for the planet. So really important that you are able to control what's going into your body. And again, try and, even if it's just one more meal this year in 2022 that you're cooking from scratch, I think that's a solid resolution. Just join us for one more class every week. All right. So here is my polenta. It is cooked. And again, you can see it's kind of like that applesauce consistency. And I'm going to go in with, again, just a tablespoon of butter. Quarter cup of cheese, my chives. Oh, how good does that look? And then again, a decent pinch of salt. Makes such a difference. And I'm just going to kind of whisk that in. I do this off the heat. That way the butter emulsifies in and the cheese emulsifies in. Otherwise, it can get a little grainy. So you can see I took it off the heat. I literally just have it on my board and I'm just whisking it through. And this is that perfect texture that you're looking for right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll hold that up. It's a little dark, but it is really, really perfect. And you'll see it when we plate it up just a little bit more. All right. I can see our chicken is done. When you look at a good piece of chicken and it's tight, and obviously there's no pink, juices run clear, it's firm to the touch, you're in really good shape. Now again, Ranger chicken just has that concentrated flavor. So the more this cooks, the more you're going to get that chicken flavor. And again, we're a little bit time strapped because here at Homemade, we promise that we can make anything homemade in under an hour. So I really want to prove that here. So this is ready to go. It's totally cooked through. But if you have the time and you have the patience, trust me, it's going to be worth letting it go just a little bit longer. But here we are kind of near the end. Here's how I kind of finish this puppy off. I'm going to take a little bit of this parsley and just kind of sprinkle it through. Look at this. Again, the key here is the chicken. Invest in the quality of the chicken. I can't say that enough. All right. And the way I like to plate this up is so simple. I just grab a little bit of polenta, and I'm going to do a side view here so you guys can see. Here's the consistency of the polenta. You don't need more than about half a cup, quarter cup. But look at that. It's just beautiful. It's still kind of flowy, stunning. And then you take this hunter stew, this rustic, gorgeous, kind of unbelievably sticky, rich stew, and you just kind of put it right on top. The thighs, the breast. This is why I like to use the whole chicken. You get just a little bit of everything. The mushrooms, the peppers, that beautiful broth, the gravy. And you let that just kind of like meld together with the polenta. Here's a better kind of scene here, guys. Look at that. Is that not crazy? I'm going to add just a little bit more greenery right on top. If you want, it's very Italian, you can add a swig of olive oil. Again, Ranger chicken. We didn't want to do too much of this. We didn't want to hide it behind the garlic or too many different ingredients. It literally is just some pepper, some onion. It's clean. When you have such high quality chicken, it should be about that. But this to me is pure comfort. I'm going to show you guys kind of what this looks like. You bring that to the table. I mean, come on. That's like bringing a hug to the table. It smells so good. We all know what I have to do. It's part of my job. I have to eat it. So I'm just going to get in there. And again, the longer you let this chicken cook, the more tender it's going to be. But, you know, Ranger chicken, even if you let it cook for 20 minutes, it's going to fall off the bone. Oh, I haven't had that dish in so long. It's so divine. Immediately what you get is just a punch in the face of chicken flavor. And then you get that tomato sense, that sweetness that tomatoes bring, a little bit of that wine. And then you taste that polenta, which just kind of falls through it. Obviously, the vegetables are great. They add a lot of sweetness themselves, that onion. It's just such a complete dish. There's no question why this is such a classic in Italy. KDC and then Carol. I want to take some questions or thoughts, but I'm just going to be eating.
Hi, Joel. Happy New Year.
Mwah! Happy New Year to you.
At first I was saying, what can I do instead of the polenta?
Yeah.
And I was thinking of cream of rice, which was the alternative to cream of wheat
Yeah.
cereal.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it came to me, I could use millet.
You could totally.
That would be even closer
Yes.
to corn.
Absolutely you could. Yep. And by the way, you guys, you can make, if you're really trying to watch it and not eat that carb, you can do cauliflower rice and just do the exact same thing. Cook it a little bit with a little bit of stock, add some butter and cheese, and it actually comes out really, really similar. Yeah, great question. Trish, or let's go Carol and Trish.
So I made the polenta along with you, and I'm gonna let my chicken cook for a little while.
Yep.
Would you keep the polenta warm, or would you reheat it?
Up to you. You can keep it warm on really low, Carol, like the lowest your setting goes.
Like a simmer?
Yeah, just leave it like that. Or if you wanted to, you can take it off. It's just going to firm up a little bit, so you'll just need to reheat it. So it just depends. You know, if it's going to be like over an hour, I might take it off. If it's going to be like just an hour or less, leave it on. Just let it stay hot. Yeah. Hey, Trish.
But that wasn't my same question because I think I'll let it cook for a while.
Yes.
Do the same thing. Okay.
I love it. I love it, you guys. And I really wish I could get kind of I'm going to try and get a close-up of this so you guys can really see kind of the gravy and just what you're getting here with the chicken itself. But it's so rustic, right? I mean, you really can take this gravy, spoon it over each piece of chicken, and that chicken just kind of drinks it, right? I mean, here I'm just grabbing up like a random thigh. Look at the glaze it kind of takes on. right? And again, the more you cook this, the more the chicken kind of breaks down. It just becomes even that much more succulent. And speaking of chicken, again, I want to thank our amazing partners, Ranger Chicken. I've said it a million times. You can only get it here in the Pacific Northwest, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't follow them on their newsletter. They have amazing recipes, tips, and tricks. Go to their website. We're going to put the link right here in the chat. That way you can go check it out. My beautiful mug used to be on there, but I have a lot of recipes on there. So we all love chicken recipes. It's hard to stay inspired. Go there and check it out. But more so, just go look at their attributes. Go look at the fact that their trays are recyclable, that they're air chilled. This should be the chicken that you look at that you can compare all chickens to, because this is the most flavorful, loved chicken you can ever find. So thank you to them. Thank you to you guys. It feels so good to be back in the saddle, cooking homemade with you guys, making beautiful stews here live. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And if you have the time tomorrow, I'm actually co-teaching with Ben, one of our other chefs, if you haven't met him, in honor of the New Year's. We're both making some cocktails, our favorite little hors d'oeuvre. Check it out. And finally, if you want to dive deeper into your culinary ability and really spend more time with us here at Homemade, you have to check out our new subscription. Just head to withhomemade.com. You can click the link. The rest is history. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your chicken cacciatore. Bye-bye.